do I wish I'd learned at school? I wish that I'd learned that life's not fair. I wish that someone had told me that, there are going to be ups and downs, and to be able to cope with those downs, to be able to know that it's okay to have the downs, because then you really know when you experience the ups. So I really wish that I'd been taught that life's not fair.
Because they expect everyone to be the same. Like, I think that's the biggest downfall of it, is just, like, everyone is different. Everyone learns differently. Like, you can't expect everyone to be at this level, especially with like things like VCAs and how it's done on a ratio. And like, if this school has a higher standard and this and that, like, it's so backwards. It's not run to educate people. It's run to keep people in certain positions. It's very, it doesn't make much sense to me. Like, I'm not a teacher. I think that it's kind of similar, touching on like nursing and stuff. It's very, like, thankless task that we have for people out there that do it as well. We don't realize how hard teachers actually have it.
So I would have liked to have had some budgeting skills. And I want those to be practical. So I get maths, understand it in its core concept, but how do I just actually take that and apply it to my life? And that stuff is really important for kids to know, or people to kind of understand. Soft skills, relationships, how to look someone in the eye, how to say kia ora or good morning or hello, how to shake hands sometimes. The range of handshakes, it's like, and it's funny to articulate out your mouth, but there's a level of judgment in a handshake. If it's too rough, I'm kind of like, oh, what are you trying to do? And if it's too fishy, I'm kind of like, oh, what are you trying to do? So it's an interesting concept that someone has to teach people how to shake hands, but it's that social interaction that's going to get you somewhere. How to stand up in a job interview, how to talk in a job interview, how to dream big. So Christina Carlson from Kiki K says, goals are one thing, that's fine, but we make them all specific and measurable, blah, blah, blah. That's also equally great. But dream, like, what's your crazy dream? Then turn that crazy dream into a goal and kind of go backwards. But if everything that you ever desire has to be measurable, where is the dream time? Where is the time to just let all your crazy options go? Yeah. I'd love to have known more about gratitude. I would have loved to have known more about the power of writing. And I'm not talking about writing to share with people, just like I have a gratitude journal. It's one page, it's about this size. It's got 3 little sections on it. Every day, just something on there to say, where I live today, it's really, really rainy, but actually I can be grateful for something else. I can ignore the crappy weather and focus on something. I think self-esteem would have been massive in education, that being true to your authentic self and acknowledging other people's authenticity, right? Kind of like the you do you thing, at the same time as how can I help you do you? How can you help me do me? Like, how do we coexist in difference, and how do we sit in difference in a comfortable space? How do we comfortably sit next to other people without feeling that othering? Yeah.
I think one of the things I've realized is that when you're 16, 17, 18, you've got what looks like forever in front of you. And by 25, you suddenly realize, oh, maybe it's not forever, but it's a long time. And, I describe it to clients as, when you're 18, retirement, and let's say with the current expectation that's 65, retirement is another universe, it's another reality. And as you go, then it goes to another planet, and then it's another city, and now it's another street, and then one day it's next door. And so and it's both very slow and very fast. And that's something that I don't think, even now, it's taking a while realizing now, as I'm in my early 40s, is going, oh, I'm at a potential midpoint, and everything I did leading up, beforehand has led up to now. And if I'm still in negative, I haven't even started yet. So the earlier I can start, so it's not even necessarily the maths of it, it's the practical reality of what life is. And I'm not sure how easy that would have been to teach a 17-year-old who doesn't want to be there. But in my experience of sitting in classrooms with 17-year-olds, which isn't massive, but I've done a little bit of it, showing them core concepts around, the multiplication of compounding interest, the rule of 72, which in the short version is, if you take the number 72 and divide the interest rate on an investment into that, that's how many years it will take to double in value. So if I invest $10,000 at 6% after tax and stuff like that, then it will be worth $20,000 in 12 years. The same is true of inflation when it comes to reducing spending power and things like debt. So that's, if I had known that, that would be something that would have been more useful. Whether I would have done something with it, I don't know. But that would be a key thing that would have helped me, because I learned it by accident in my late 20s and had made a bunch of mistakes.
I'm a practical guy, so I think there were a lot of real practical life skills that I don't feel school had prepared us for, whether it was budget management, conflict management, all the things that interactions with people in general. And we learned calculus, we learned algebra, we learned geography, which were all great subjects, enjoyed every bit of it, but the reality is the practicalities of life weren't, and so it was down to experience. And I think there's a lot of value in experience, but there's also a lot of value in being prepared for what you're about to face. So I think people skills in particular, how do you manage environments in which you need to interact with people? I don't think schools were at my time doing a good job of that. And I think also resilience in regards to a changing world. It was a long time when I was back at school. So, but even so, the evolving change of the world around us, we weren't prepared for that. And so again, it came down to experience. That has served many people well, but it's also not served others not so well. I remember in the States when we first got married, I was given a checkbook and I was like, what do I do with this? No one taught me how to work that one out, or how to open a bank account, or, I think in the past we relied on our parents to teach us this skill, but more and more kids are growing up with either, broken families or families that are detached. And so that learning experience is lost on some of these young people. And so they're relying on the system to help them through that. And the system is failing them, I think, yeah.
I wish I'd learned I was a genius. I wish I'd learned what was great about me. I wish I was given the opportunity to focus on my strengths and to be able to, when I was at school, I'm in my late 50s. So when I was at school many, many years ago, I was not even allowed to do woodwork or any design projects or curriculum, because that was a male thing to do. I had to do cookery, which I hate. Still don't cook. So, it's, and so we have come a long way since then, but like I say, there's still a long way to go. But I definitely wish I was able to focus on my natural abilities, which is to be more creative, to be able to have a project-based approach to learning and to solve real-world problems. That would have been a huge motivator to me.
When you ask it, I find this a really difficult question to answer. And because the truth is, I really enjoyed school. I was one of those little nerdy kids who loved going to school. Perhaps it was because I had two parents as teachers who were both teachers, and incidentally were pretty darn amazing teachers themselves. So what I did was to think, okay, what am I grateful for? What have I looked at now, many years after leaving school, and thought, gee, I'm glad I learned that, or gee, I'm glad that happened. So 3 things spring to mind for me. The first one is never underestimate the power and the impact of a great teacher. So often we talk about schools, yes, but each of us has all of these teachers. Don't underestimate the impact of one. So I was completely blessed to have a brilliant, and interestingly, chemistry teacher, Cathy, in year 11 and 12, form 6 and 7. Sue Russell is the reason that I became a chemistry teacher. So I had known prior to that I wanted to teach. I thought it was going to be maths. I went and I thought, wow, she just made that subject came alive. I thought, this would be awesome. So it's that impact of a teacher. And I know that to this day, I'm in contact with a number of students as well. You know, there's this ongoing relationship, there's ongoing impact. That's not the reason you go in, but it's just realizing, my goodness, you have a massive impact as a person, as a teacher. Secondly, it's that sense that whatever we achieve at school has an ongoing impact. I know that we often say, look, that's just one portion of your life, and it is. But I think we should be under no illusion as to how important that is. When you achieve at school, those people go on to believe that they can achieve and they can learn new things. So if I look at a number of the people that I work with now, senior leaders, from the outside, you would all describe them as, wow, they're really successful. Gee, they're really confident. A number of these leaders go, I just need you to know that I didn't do very well at school. I haven't got a degree. The number of people in their 40s, 50s and 60s who have got really high position in companies, but still have this, if I can call it kind of like a chip on their shoulder, because they don't feel they achieved at school through uni, is extraordinary. It's not to say that it's particularly valid, but it's there. If we see that it's there, it highlights again how important it is that we find a pathway to help students feel successful and to achieve. And it isn't just about effort, you know. In fact, sadly, it's not about effort, it's about achievement. And I know we need effort to achieve, but the world in business life and in working life measures us on achievement. It doesn't measure us on effort. So I don't mean we don't need both in school, but somehow we've got to transition to realize, actually, you need to learn to achieve, because that's what the world is measuring. And so that part becomes important. And I guess the third thing would be to say to teachers, back yourself, because there are many things that your students won't want to do, but you know are good for them. And I'm really grateful for one of those in my own life. So, you know, that I definitely didn't want to do was speeches, public speaking. I was really shy. No one believes this now, but I was really, really shy as a kid. In fact, my nickname at school was Blush-O-Matic. So that tells you how shy I was. So I'm in Form 1 and you had to do your first public speaking. I so did not want to do it, and I was definite that I wasn't going to do it. But my jolly mother, who was the worst mother in the world at that point, would not write me a note to get me out of it. Like, now I look and I think, oh, I'm so grateful for having had to do those speeches. I didn't enjoy them, but I'm really glad that I did, because in the world we now live in, we need to present, not necessarily as a keynote speaker at all, but you need to present to your team. You need to be able to present if you're wanting funding. You need to be able to present on that. You need to be able to present to that group of volunteers. Just mentioned that, you know, 40% of the children coming through now are going to become entrepreneurs. Well, then you've got to be able to pitch your idea. So this ability to be able to present ideas and realize that it isn't just about the content, it's hugely about who you are and your personality and behind that. I wish that would be the change I'd make at school, Cathy. I think while we needed to do speeches, and I'm glad we did, there was way too much emphasis on just getting the content out. And by the way, it needs to be 3 minutes. And if it's more than 3 minutes, 10 seconds, I'm going to cut you off. You know, so the whole focus became wrong. The focus needed to be, what are the 3 points, or what are the key points you're telling us? And you need your personality in that space. We need that more than ever. Look at everything that we are reading and looking at now. We've got a shorter and shorter attention span. So if we don't let our personality be part of it, we've got no chance of it sinking in. So by way of rather what I've learned about how useful school can be, if I can twist it that way, I think those are 3 key things for us to go. We need to make the most of that opportunity.
I wish I had learned, first of all, practical social emotional learning strategies that I could apply, because I was feeling inferior and not able to learn in the way that I was being taught. And that was part of the reason I lacked self-confidence. And then, you know, the students on the playground who tend to play the role of bully, and there's a lot of reasons for that, they can spot the victim like on the other side of the playground, right? The person who's not feeling confident. And so I was picked on, and I didn't have practical strategies to use. And that's one thing I really wish I had learned. And I also wish I had learned in areas of my strength. I found that there was a lot of emphasis on like, you know, about the different intelligences that Howard Gardner put out, right? So we learn in traditional schooling a lot about mathematical, logical, and about linguistic learning. And that's like reading, writing, spelling. And I didn't do well in those areas, but I wasn't allowed or even knew to learn them in a kinesthetic manner, for example. And I'm a kinesthetic learner. So I think we can embrace all learners if we expand the way we teach. So I wish I had had the way I teach now and what I'm putting forward as a child. And that's what motivates me.
Well, I can say this out loud because my teenagers both know that I didn't have the best relationship with school. And I wish I'd learned in school that I was a worthwhile human being, that what I cared about was worthwhile, that my ideas were worthwhile, my opinions were worthwhile, and that I had a place in the world. And I didn't leave school with any of those things. So that would have been my wish for myself.
I wish I'd learned to be myself. It's taken me a long time to really understand who I am and be confident enough to really be myself. And I've been a fish out of water in a lot of different contexts. And that's probably helped me to learn that. But learning to be myself and learning to value and honor myself is what I wish I had learned at school.
People would really acknowledge what my process was, where I was struggling, where I was coming to grips with myself, the meaning of life, let alone some ideas. A lot of these things, they were sort of implied, but I had to do a lot of work after school, as in in my adult life, to learn really about the emotional life. So that's what I would say probably. And in a sense, I would like to have learnt it in my family as well as at school. I mean, but even just learning it somewhere.
That I had learned what my natural brain-wired strength was. I wish I had learned that my brain works this way, and so this is a path for me to actually accomplish the things I need to accomplish through my zone of genius, not trying to be all things to all people, but truly just celebrating who I am. Not learning that until I was 30 years old, I think created a lot of struggle and created a lot of unnecessary roller coasters in my life. And yet I learned a lot from them. I am where I am now. So I'm grateful for the lessons along the way. But I wish that I could have shortened that learning curve by truly just being celebrated for how my brain works and knowing that everyone learns different. Everyone thrives differently. Everyone processes information differently versus the one size fits all, do it this way, sit down, keep your hands together. Sit still, pay attention. The more that I learn about neuroscience and positive psychology and the science of happiness is that all of that quote unquote programming as we're growing up is telling our unconscious mind that we're not enough, And so then what do we do as adults? And a lot of the educators that I get to work with now, we break out the proverbial bat and go, not enough, not enough, not enough, not enough. Whether it's I'm not doing enough or I'm not capable enough, or it's all rooted in shame of what we're not doing instead of focusing on what does come natural to us and what we can do and what we get to be celebrated for in this life.